One of the most profound things I've learned in my life is that it's actually not about my hair at all. I've spent a lifetime trying to cover up who I am. And as much as I love a good external transformation, and I do, I much more love a heart transformation. Join me as I share how I work to heal my heart, find happiness, and embrace our hair. Hey guys, and welcome to the first official episode of It's Not About Your Hair, where we talk all things hair, heart, and happiness. Hey, my name is Casey Voss, and I'm so excited that you're here. If you have never met me before and happen to just stumble across this podcast, I am a curly hair specialist by day. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that. And if you are my client or already follow me on social, you might be wondering, am I going to learn how to style my hair from this podcast? And the answer is no, but don't turn away just yet. I want you guys to understand one of the most profound things that I have ever learned in my entire life is that it's not about my hair. And what I mean by that is I've spent a lifetime recovering from straightening my hair, a lifetime recovering from covering up who I actually am. And as much as I love the idea of transformation, and if you follow me at all on my Instagram, you'll see I'm all about a good transformation, teaching people to embrace what they think is chaos and turning it into beautiful curls, how to understand better what we see in the mirror and that it's not a mistake, but that it was on purpose and perhaps just misunderstood. Well, that's what this podcast is about, except we're going inside instead of outside. So quickly, I have spent the last, 20 years of my adult life working on how I see myself. And it has really been a side-by-side journey as I've transitioned into becoming a curly hair specialist, embracing my own curly hair, that I have discovered that my hair was just a part of who I was. But because of the narrative that I believed about myself, it changed everything about how I saw myself. And so the point of this podcast, again, is that we're going to be going inside because I think that external transformation is quite magnificent, even spectacular, magical even, the way that we can look at ourselves and find value. But I think internal acceptance and internal transformation are the most important. I'm thinking about what the next thing to say in that, and what I want to express the most on this podcast is that although, again, external transformation is important, the internal work of how we see ourselves really becomes how we treat others, how we view whether or not things are happening to us or for us, and whether or not we can see our own worth and value. It makes me so excited. So one of the big things that we're going to talk about is uncovering our hair story and walking out life through new lenses. So today, I'm going to put on my glasses and I'm going to talk to you just for a second about how when our vision is on a different prescription, the things that we're looking at can change from here to here. And this, you guys, is much about life. So if you're listening and can't see, I just put on a pair of glasses. I use these for nighttime driving because at night things become very blurry to me. I believe that as we transition through our life, we pick up different lenses, different prescriptions. We're born one way, perfectly, fearfully, and wonderfully made. We are made with a purpose and a plan, knit together. This is not a Christian podcast, but I am a Christian. So I'm going to give you guys my life verse that changed my life, Psalms 139. And at different points in the podcast, we'll talk about different portions of this. But in Psalms 139, he says, right here, "You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex." Curly hair plug. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. And it says, you saw me before I was born, every day of my life recorded. You knit me together in my mother's womb. When I could really kind of grasp this idea that from the foundations, from inside my mother's womb, from inside your mother's womb, you were put together with a purpose. It was hard for me to believe that because most of my life I thought I was a mistake. I thought that my hair was a mistake. My earliest memories about myself revolved around how frustrating my hair was to the people around me, my mom, my grandparents, how I always felt like I looked like a mess, and how believing that, I'm going to put my glasses back on so you can see, became my first set of prescription lenses. It became how I could see myself, and no matter what you told me, because those lenses were on, I was a goddamn mess. And it began to wear in to the fabric of who I was, even though it wasn't how I was created. I hope you guys are catching what I'm laying down here. When I believe that all that I am is all that I'm supposed to be, and the things that I'm picking up that change the way I see me and the world around me, those are the things that I think we have to shed off. They're important for our process, that we learn and grow and that we change and evolve. But I also think that along the way, we keep adding these prescription lenses that change for good and bad the way we see ourselves and others. And so when I could really grasp that my curly hair wasn't a mistake, that it was just misunderstood, and I could understand that from my earliest memories of people saying, oh my gosh, she's so cute, she looks just like little Orphan Annie, how that thought about Orphan Annie and the picture that conjured in my mind to Orphan Annie was, and how I felt about myself because of someone else saying that to me, carried on into much of my adult life, you guys. And so this is really important. As we transition into future episodes, we'll be talking about these memories, these core memories that shape our identity, and how when I'm sitting in my salon and behind my chair when I do a new client, I used to ask this question: what is the memory that you have of yourself, the earliest memory you can remember of a time that you didn't like your hair or someone said something about your hair? And if you're a curly girl or just a human being in general who's had a bad experience, someone made fun of you at some point in your life, I want you to just think about that. If you're driving, I want you to be careful, because sometimes this can trigger some hard memories and things that we don't even realize, because our subconscious, you guys, takes the driver's seat to the reality of our life. And we no longer are living in the truth. We're living in an altered state. So when I ask a client this, do you remember your earliest memory? Most of them, it's third or fourth grade. Somebody says something to you that sticks with you. For me, mine was, you look like little Orphan Annie. And then every time I looked in the mirror, the last thing I wanted to have was curly, short, red hair. My hair tended to be a little bit more blonde when I was younger. And I think it's really important that no matter what I did, I was terrified for that third or fourth grade version of me to show up. So no matter how old somebody is, even if I have a 60-year-old client, most of them can remember a memory. I had a client recently who said she was always afraid of looking like a Q-tip. And so when she looked in the mirror, I think it's so much more important what we see when we look at ourselves and what we believe about ourselves than what other people see. And that's why it's short-lived, you guys. The reality of, oh, I look really pretty today, because the first time somebody says you don't, does it take the wind out of your sails or the desire to buy that next fancy thing that's going to make you feel good? But the minute the newness wears off, we're looking for something else. And a lot of times that comes from us not feeling valuable inside, not coming to the conclusion of we are good enough. So what I ask clients to do next after they remember that memory, because most of them are afraid to look like that again. They'll say, oh, I remember this one time I got bangs and everyone made fun of me, so I don't want to cut bangs. And I'm like, you're 43 now. The 43-year-old you is going to look totally different than the 11-year-old you. So I asked them to take a minute to step back from that and ask themselves what they've been saying to themselves about themselves this whole time, however many years have passed. And so if you're, again, in your car, if you could look at yourself in the mirror, if you're at home, go step in the mirror. And I want you to remind yourself that you're not who you used to be. That these ways, these lenses in which we've put on are not the truth. Because before you were born, the parts of you that are so darn special were already built in, knit inside of you. And along the way, we're picking up this bull crap, these false realities about ourselves, and we're letting them stick around. And then, we're blaming other people for saying mean stuff to us, but no one, and this is own personal story, you guys, no one has been meaner to me than I have. Because someone can say it to me once, but God dang it, I'll say it to myself over and over and over again until I no longer have a sense of reality about who I am. I'm walking around with blurred vision. I'm ugly. My hair's a mess. I can't do anything right. And the point of this podcast, again, is that we take off these lenses. We go back to the basics. We start accepting and embracing the parts of us that maybe we've stuffed away or hidden or are afraid for people to see. And the reason, again, that it's not about your hair is because all of the things I can remember about myself were geared around my hair. I didn't want to go to something that I could get wet because I was afraid my hair would get frizzy. I never wanted to go to a sleepover because I was afraid what my hair would look like in the morning. And I didn't want to drive with the windows down. And I can see that through every phase of my life, me hiding and running from me was what has kept me afraid of what others might really see the true me. And I'm just not her anymore. So this outward picture that you see of this curly hair and this little bit of frizz and this chaos that is my office, this is me. I am completely and totally, sorry, my phone just rang, myself. I have no fear around who I am. Now, there are pockets of fear. I was afraid to film this first episode of this podcast. I was afraid of messing up. But the truth is, at the end of the day, every time I get afraid and that voice in my head that says, see, you always mess up. Look, we knew you were going to do this weirdo thing again. I always remind myself that I'm not going to be meaner to myself than necessary. And when I trust, you guys, that I was knit together in my mother's womb, that I was made on purpose, for a purpose, that this hair is not a mistake, this personality, this loudness, these intricate parts of me that are unchangeable, uniquely made for me, and I can embrace them, two things happen. One, I start liking myself. Why? Because I'm unique, and I'm not trying to be like everybody else, okay? Two, I start liking you. You! Because I am looking for what makes you special. I'm not trying to devalue you. I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying to lift you up. I'm trying to look for the pieces of you that maybe you're hiding. And through that healing, we get to become whole people, from glory to glory, or more authentic to more authentic. And so I'm thankful to be here. If it weren't for Tony Nash inviting me onto his podcast, No Easy Way Out, and then encouraging me whether he was looking for an extra job, Tony, or he actually thinks that this is a valuable resource, I'm here. And I'm committed to hanging out with you guys once a week. And we're going to talk about all things hair, heart, happiness, and of course, perspective. We're going to work on taking those lenses off, and we're going to remember that you're just fine, and that you're going to be okay, and that your hair looks great. So thanks for sticking around. I'll see you on the next episode of It's Not About Your Hair, where we talk about a little bit more about our lenses. I guess this is where I ask you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on social, and to listen wherever podcasts can be found. And join me every Tuesday at 2 as we unpack how to heal your hair, your heart, and your happiness.